Welcome to the garden. Today we're going to pick and can these running butter beans. These seeds were given to Greg at the Petals of the Past meet and greet event, and they are from Alabama. So these butter beans do have to be canned, not water bath. I've frozen many of them in the past, and I'm trying to get away from putting so much stuff in the freezer. It does take quite a while to shell butter beans, but this to me is very relaxing. This was one of those things that I hated doing as a child, and I love doing now. These are color running butter beans, and you can see some of these have a purple tint to them. When you cook them, they will have a brown broth. So out of that 20-foot row, this was my first picking, and this is going to end up being about 4 quarts of butter beans. Aren't those pretty? These are pretty clean, but I'm going to throw them in the sink here and wash them, and I just fill my sink up with water and fill the other side up, and then just rinse them from side to side till my water is clear. Pick out any trash, pick out any damaged beans. Here I'm getting my water in my pressure canner, and I'm putting 3 quarts of water in the bottom, and I'm going to start letting this warm up on the stove. I'm adding a teaspoon of salt to each jar, and this is totally optional. It adds flavor. It's not required. When you're putting your butter beans in here, or peas, anything that can, you don't want to pack them because they're going to swell. You want to place them loosely, and don't pack them all the way up. So I did these about 3/4, and then I'm going to fill them with water. One of the problems when canning is sometimes the water will siphon out as these swell up. So by giving it a little bit of room, not packing, that will help. Make sure you get all the air bubbles out. Jostle it around really well. Wipe your rims off with a paper towel so that seal, nothing comes between that seal. This is a good time to check those rims and make sure there's no cracks. Now I did put warm water in these beans so they won't be shocked when they go in the canner. Put your lids on, and these are warm, and then your bands, and just tighten them finger tight. Now I have canned butter beans before in my soup, but I've never just done them by themselves. I'm placing some jars with just water in them in this canner, since I only have 4 quarts of butter beans to process. This will keep my jars from moving and rattling around, and just help with the overall stability. Once I put my lid on, I will turn it up to high and get that steam coming out. Once it's at a steady stream, set your timer for 10 minutes. After the 10 minutes, you can put your weight on and let it begin to build pressure. Once it gets to 10 pounds of pressure, I adjusted the heat to maintain it. You can see some of the water bubbling out around the weight. That is okay. As long as it holds the pressure, you're good. We've reached 10 pounds of pressure, and I'm at a 7 on my stove, and I'm just going to turn it down slowly. Keep my eye on that gauge. You can see the water has quit escaping from around the weight. I'm going to set it for 50 minutes. Now the recipe I used is from the Blue Book, and it is for beans and lima and butter beans. It does say 40 minutes for pints and 50 for quarts. So once you've reached that processing time and you let your pressure go back to 0, and I did let them sit in this canner and cool off more than I normally do. That's another thing you can do to prevent siphoning, and I did not have any siphoning. The water level stayed over the beans. It turned that pretty brown because these are a color running butter bean. Now you do see some water there separating those beans. Once it cools all the way off, those will fall back down. Do not worry about this. You want to set them on your counter for 12 to 24 hours undisturbed. Aren't those gorgeous? After 12 to 24 hours, remove your bands and check your seals by lifting with your fingertips. If the seal does not come off, it is good. Can't wait to open these up this winter. As always, be sure to label and put the date. Always just put the year. Thank you for joining me tonight. See you next time.